All right, welcome back to the deep dive. I've got to say, this whole brand impersonation thing in 2025, it's not just about those spam emails anymore. It's getting kind of scary, actually. Like, way more sophisticated, wouldn't you
Oh,
say?
no, absolutely. You hit the nail on the head. When people hear brand impersonation, their minds probably jump to those
Yeah.
annoying pop-ups or those spam messages we all get. But there's an article we're looking at today, Brand Impersonation, Hidden Costs to Your Reputation by Oren Todoros. And it really, it shines a light on how this has become such a sneaky yet incredibly damaging threat. It really targets like the core of any business, right? That trust they build with customers and employees.
Yeah, for sure. And that's exactly what we want to dive into today, right? Like all those hidden costs that maybe aren't so obvious. And also, how does this stuff even happen? And why should anyone care? Like, even if you're not some tech wizard, we really want to break this down, make it clear using this article, but without drowning you in technical jargon. So, where do we even begin with all this?
Well, I think a good starting point is what Todoros really emphasizes, and that's the true cost. It goes beyond just immediate financial losses. Although those are definitely a concern, the article really drives home the point that it's the erosion of trust, both with customers and your own employees. That's the real damage.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense when you think about it. Like, if someone gets tricked by, a scammer pretending to be a company they trust, who do they blame? Even if the real company wasn't, directly involved in the scam, that trust takes a hit. And Todoros actually, he points out that this damage, it has these ripple effects, like hiring, for example. Apparently, about half of all job seekers, they'd straight up refuse to work for a company with a bad reputation.
Yeah. And it doesn't stop there either. Imagine you're an investor looking at a company. A damaged brand, it's a red flag. Investors want stability, reliability, and if a brand looks vulnerable to these attacks, well, they might seem like a risky investment. Same goes for partnerships. Other businesses might think twice about working with a company that can't seem to protect its brand.
The article actually had this crazy stat. 90%, a full 90% of consumers, both in the US and the UK, they prefer companies that prioritize data security. So, any hit to your reputation because of this brand impersonation stuff, it directly impacts customer loyalty. People don't feel safe online with your brand. They're gone.
It's really about confidence, right? Customers need to feel confident they're actually dealing with the real company. And employees, potential employees, they need to feel confident about the company they might work for. Brand impersonation, it just completely undermines that confidence, that foundation.
And, the article pointed out something else, a sort of shift in who these, I don't know what to call them, these bad guys are targeting. It's not just individuals or like the government anymore.
It's becoming more about established brands, and they're going after them strategically. Todoros actually mentions that in 2024, 26%, get this, 26% of phishing emails, they came from brands the target had zero connection with, which means they're kind of just casting a wide net hoping to catch something. But then there's this other stat, 16% involves scammers pretending to be coworkers, like from inside the company. That's messed up.
It's pretty creepy when you think about it. That whole idea of like an inside job, even if it's not really from the inside, it takes advantage of the trust you have in your colleagues, in your own company. So how are they doing this? The article, it breaks down a few methods.
Right. So let's look at some of these tactics. The classic one, everyone's probably heard of it, phishing emails. You get an email, looks exactly like it's from, say, a big retailer or your bank. But the goal is to trick you into giving them your info, your credit card, your login, stuff like that. It works because it plays on your trust in these brands. You see the logo, the familiar wording, you let your guard down, especially if it's urgent, like problem with your account or some limited time offer you can't miss.
Exactly, that urgency thing. And then there's this other thing, executive impersonation. Sounds pretty terrifying.
It is. This is where scammers pretend to be, like the CEO or the CFO, bigwigs in a company. And they'll use email, social media, even AI-generated voice calls now, trying to trick employees, often in finance departments, into sending them money, big money, or revealing confidential information. And with AI, they can mimic voices now, so it's becoming really hard to tell what's real.
It's getting harder and harder to know what's real and what's fake, that's for sure. The article also mentioned domain spoofing. What's that all about?
So domain spoofing is like building a fake website, but it looks almost exactly like the real deal. The only difference might be a tiny change in the web address, a missing letter, or even a character that looks like a normal letter, but it's not. Something AI makes really easy to do on a large scale. These are what are called homoglyph attacks. And then when someone lands on that fake site, they might download malware without knowing it. That's basically software designed to mess up your computer or steal your info. Or they might just enter their personal details, thinking they're on their bank site or something.
So it's not just about fake emails. They're creating these whole fake online worlds. And then there are the fake ads, too.
Exactly. Imposters create fake ads that look like they're from real brands. Sometimes they even manage to get onto legitimate ad platforms, like Google Ads. So these fake ads pop up right next to real ones in your search results. They're usually trying to sell counterfeit products or lure people into some kind of scam.
And then we've got social media impersonation. I think we've all seen those fake accounts at some point.
Oh yeah, that's everywhere now. They create these fake profiles that look just like the official brand page. They might use them to run fake promotions, sell knockoff products directly, or try to steal your info. And since so many brands use social media to talk to their customers, these fake accounts create a lot of confusion and can really hurt a brand's image.
So we've got all these different ways these attacks can happen, and it's a pretty worrying picture. The article doesn't just talk about the methods, though. It also gives examples of how this stuff plays out in the real world.
Yeah, it's important to remember this isn't just theory. Todoros gives this example of fake websites pretending to be big retailers like Target and GameStop, offering these crazy discounts for a closing sale. These scams, they hurt the people who fall for them. But the article makes this great point. People often end up blaming the real brand, even though they were the ones impersonated. That loss of trust, it's real, and it hurts.
And it's not just retail. The article talks about how crypto scams are using big brand names to trick people, like that Amazon crypto Ponzi scheme. People thought they were investing and would get these huge commissions, but it was all fake.
Right. Using a name like Amazon, a brand everyone knows and trusts, that's the key. People are way more likely to believe an investment opportunity if they think it's connected to a company they already trust.
Yeah.
It shows just how valuable a brand's reputation is and how damaging it can be when someone exploits that trust.
So with all this going on across so many different websites and platforms trying to fight it manually, wouldn't that be almost impossible?
Absolutely. Todoros points out that with the sheer volume of online platforms and channels these scammers use, trying to keep track of and fight every single instance of brand impersonation manually, it's just not feasible for any organization to do effectively. Especially when you consider that cybercriminals are using AI more and more to automate their scams and make them even bigger.
It makes sense. You can't have a whole team of people just scouring the internet 24/7 looking for every single time your brand might be misused. So what's the solution? The article mentions automation.
Yeah, it talks about how automated solutions can be used to proactively find and identify brand impersonation as it's happening. It mentions Brand Shield as an example. This is an online brand protection platform that uses advanced tech, things like AI and machine learning, along with human expertise. They constantly monitor a ton of different online channels. And the key here is being proactive, not reactive. That means finding and stopping potential threats before they do real damage, not just dealing with the aftermath.
So it's like fighting fire, but with technology. You set up systems that are constantly looking for these fake websites, social media profiles, and other ways your brand might be misused.
Exactly. These platforms, they can analyze huge amounts of data in real time. They spot patterns and weird stuff that humans would never be able to find on their own. And that means brands can act quickly to shut down those fake websites and social media accounts, protect their customers, and, protect their own reputation.
So to wrap it all up, it's pretty clear that this brand impersonation thing, it's a big deal. And it's constantly changing and getting more sophisticated. It's not just about losing money directly. It's about that damage to a brand's reputation, the trust they've built with customers and employees. That's the real problem.
Absolutely. And those hidden costs, the damage to your reputation, they can have huge consequences. It affects everything: customer loyalty, sales, your ability to hire good people, even the partnerships you can make with other businesses. It's a threat that needs a serious proactive response. And we need to use the same technology that these impersonators are using to fight back.
And that brings us to something for you, our listeners, to think about. In this digital world where AI is making it easier and easier to create fake stuff and pretend to be someone you're not, how can we be sure what's real online? How can individuals and businesses really verify who they're dealing with? How do we protect that essential element of trust when deception is getting so sophisticated? That's a question we all need to consider, and the answer has big implications for all of us. Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive today.